Before we jump in, quick heads up. There's a previous video posted just below this one in the description. I really recommend starting from video 1 so you can follow the flow and context. Each part builds on the last and you'll get way more out of it if you watch in order. If you've already seen the first one, awesome. Let's get into this one.
The Books of the Natsarim and the Enlightened Ones. Restored Names Edition.
Chapter 8. Kepha, who had been called Shimon, owned a house beside an olive garden, and his brother, his wife, and his mother-in-law lived there with children and servants. These did not welcome Immanuel, while Kepha's mother-in-law kept to her bed, for she was down with fever. Immanuel, finding her in this condition, sat down beside her and, taking her hand, stroked it so she soon slept. When she awoke, she got up and attended to the guests, for the fever had gone. The brother of Kepha said to Immanuel, "This place already supports sufficient priests and expounders of religion, and you bring others with you to swell their numbers. How will you all live?" Immanuel said, "I will tell you a parable. An inconsiderate man once owned a cat, which he sometimes neglected to feed. One day he came home with a dog found wandering and lost. The cat said to the dog, 'Now I shall surely starve, for you are much bigger than I am, and the food for you will be often forgotten, so you will devour mine.' The dog said, 'This will not be so, for when we are hungry I can bark and whine, which you cannot do. This will show the master we are hungry, and we will both be fed.'" Later, while they were dining, Immanuel said, "Men say I am the scourge of the parashim, but this is untrue, for many of these are godly men whom it would be unworthy to lash with the tongue. It is the painted parashim, the hypocrites pretending to be what they are not, whom I criticize. There are those who carry their goodness on their shoulders for all to see, those who say, 'Tell me my duty and I will do it, show me my obligations and I will carry them out,' those who bow to the ground so their eyes may not look on passing women, those who trip over their feet with excessive humility, and those who do good out of fear. I bring their faults into the light of day, so they may benefit from their own shame." The brother of Kepha said, "Master, we are respectable people and live among our own kind, for a man who works among goats always carries some of their smell. Why do you associate with wrongdoers?" Immanuel said, "I prefer the wrongdoer who is aware of his deficiencies to the good man who is overly aware of his goodness. Is the starving and desperate man who steals to feed his hungry children bad, while the overfed respectable man protected from temptation by wealth ill-earned is good? Which of the two needs compassion? Going to the temple makes no one good unless goodness is already established in their hearts. No truly good man could serve the Father devotedly for an hour and then turn his back on him for the rest of the day." Immanuel went outside to where there was an open space surrounded by trees, and here a crowd started to gather around him. While he was speaking, a man pushed through in distress and, coming close to Immanuel, begged him to come and save his young daughter. Immanuel said, "I will go to her immediately after I leave here." Now, a leper stood apart from the crowd, and Immanuel went over to him, saying, "Do you want to be made well?" The man answered, "O Master, you could make me a new man if you would only will it to be so." Immanuel touched him, and the man's affliction began to depart. Yahusha said to him, "Go to a priest, taking the prescribed offering of your cleansing, and he will testify to the cure." Those about said among themselves, "He heals unlike other holy men, for those he cures seem to be filled with a strange form of vigor." As Immanuel went back into the gathering, a centurion came up to him and said, "I have heard of your powers from many people, and my son is at home and in great pain. Will you kindly heal him? And for this I will be forever grateful." Immanuel said, "I will come and heal him." But the centurion replied, "My house is a very humble place and hardly fit for you to enter. Just command it and I know the boy will be cured, for I trust you. I who give and take orders know the power of command." Immanuel was surprised to hear these words and turning to those who followed him said, "Nowhere in the land have I seen faith such as this. Believe me, many will come from east and west, thinking to sit among our forefathers in the kingdom of the Ruach, but many who are heirs to this kingdom, having forfeited their heritage, will be found outside the gates, and there will be weeping and wailing." Then Immanuel said to the centurion, "Go home, my friend. Because of your faith, I will not disappoint you." Then Immanuel gave the centurion a piece of metal, saying, "Place this beside the boy." And from that time the boy began to recover. In the crowd which pressed around Immanuel was a woman who had suffered from bleeding for 12 years, whom no one had been able to cure. Coming up behind Immanuel, she prayed silently to herself and touched him on the back. At once, the woman began to feel comfortable and relieved. But Immanuel knew the healing power had been drawn from him in an unexpected outsurge. Turning to the disciples in the crowd, who stood guard, he asked who had touched him. Kepha, who was there, said, "How can we know? The crowd presses so close we can hardly control them." The woman, hearing this and fearful for what she had done, came forward and fell on her knees before Immanuel, confessing her guilt. He raised her up gently, saying, "My daughter, it is not the power in me alone, but your faith has opened a door whereby it poured out to effect a cure. Be at peace in your heart, for the complaint will trouble you no more." After this, Immanuel needed a rest, and while doing so a servant came bearing a message to the man whose daughter had been ill, telling him she had died. Immanuel, overhearing what was said, called the man to him and said, "Do not upset yourself, just trust me and wait a while and we will go together." Immanuel then bid the crowd remain where it was and went with the father and his servant, accompanied by 3 disciples. When they arrived at the man's house, mourners had already started the wailing of the laments, and Immanuel rebuked them for making such a noise when the girl was only sleeping, for he had sent his Ruach before him. The mourners said, "What kind of a fool is this?" Ordering them outside, Immanuel, accompanied by the parents and 2 disciples, entered the room where the child was lying. Taking her hands, Immanuel said, "Wake up, my little one." And after a while she gave a great breath. Later, opening her eyes, she smiled and soon got up. The parents were overcome, but when they recovered, Yahusha told them to keep their own counsel and attend to the child. When they had left, Jacob, one of the disciples, asked, "Why are some brought back to life and others not?" Immanuel answered, "Did I not say this one only slept? There is a time appointed for dying, and the Ruach of men keep their appointments. I work with the Torah of life, not against it." When they arrived back at the place where the crowd was gathered, there was a man lying in their midst, with a greatly swollen leg which had crippled him for many years. He said to Yahusha, "Master, I have been a sinful man and have been punished." Immanuel said, "Be of good heart, for your suffering has compensated for your misdeeds." Some nearby who were hostile towards Yahusha, hearing this, said, "This is blasphemous talk." Overhearing what was said, Yahusha turned to them and replied, "Talk such as this is cheap and serves no end. It takes more than a wagging tongue to effect cures." Then Immanuel said to the man on the ground, "Arise and go your way." Thereupon he got up and walked, the people being amazed and giving thanks that such powers could be manifested among them. Immanuel then left and returned to the house of Kepha, and when he arrived found several parashim waiting outside. They said, "We hear you have much wisdom. What is the basis of your teaching? What sign can you give of your authority, or what proof so we can believe? Moses provided heavenly bread when our people starved in the wilderness, and by his deeds we know him for a true prophet." A disciple said, "He has just healed 4 people." But the parashim replied, "There are others who heal. This power is not unique in him." Then Immanuel said, "Must you have proof and be given signs to believe? Surely this would take all merit from belief. As for Moses, I assure you he did not provide bread from heaven when he fed those who starved in the wilderness. Through me, Yahuwah will send down the bread of heaven, which nourishes the world. Therefore, when working to support yourselves, do not overlook the need for the bread of heaven which nourishes the Ruach, for man cannot live by mortal bread alone. Strive less for perishable food and more." The crowd answered, "O Master, never fail to provide us with this bread." Immanuel said, "I bring the bread of life. Whoever partakes of it will never hunger. I bring the water of eternity, and whoever drinks of it will never thirst. All I am intended to receive from above I will share with everyone who comes to me. The power I have comes from heaven and is used not for my own ends, but to serve the purpose of he who gave it. His will is that I should waste no particle of what I have been given but must account for it when my work is ended. For it is the will of he who invested me with authority and power that whoever has faith in me and believes in my cause, putting my teachings into practice, will enjoy immortality and glory." One of the parashim said to Immanuel, "Why do so many flock to hear you speak instead of going to the temples and places of assembly? Why do they have to listen to someone speaking on the streets and hillsides when they could listen to those fully armed with knowledge of the Torah?" Immanuel answered, "I too am surprised so many seek to learn righteousness from me. Maybe they come because I am among those disinherited. But before telling them what to do, put yourselves in their place. Can it be they find my teachings more sustaining and closer to their hearts?" Many of the Yahudim were angry at the teachings of Immanuel, for he said, "I have the true bread of life and of heaven." They said, "Is this not the Immanuel we know, son of Yosef and Miriam, who are just ordinary people?" Immanuel once said to them, "Do not say things behind my back when you can say them to my face. I will draw no one away from your own teachings unless something greater inclines them towards me. But if it does, they are on the way to immortality. The prophets promised your forefathers that their descendants would receive instructions from Elohim. So can you not believe these things? Therefore, anyone Yahuwah inclines towards me hears me speak with his voice." The people who joined the crowds about Yahusha filled him with compassion, for they were so anxious to find the deliverer. They seemed pathetically helpless and lost, like sheep without a shepherd. Immanuel said to his disciples, "The seed planted was good, and there is a rich harvest ready for the cutting. But alas, the harvesters are few, therefore the overseer must be requested to send more men." The following day, Immanuel was seated among the trees near the house of Kepha, and with him were many disciples. And one said to him, "Master, since the days of our fathers, many slaves have come into the land, great numbers having no slaves, being forced into brigandage, for otherwise they would starve. Are these men evildoers?" Immanuel replied, "What they do is not good and therefore must be evil. But though their wrongdoing may be great in the eyes of men, it is small in the eyes of Elohim compared with the evil done by those who stand behind the deed. Many, blameless in the eyes of men, will not escape the judgment of eternity. The disinherited say, 'All things will change when Yahuwah wills it,' but I tell you the Father will not do the work of his sons. The Deliverer comes to take men to their places of labor and will ease their burdens there, but he cannot undertake the whole of the task. He will initiate the rule of Elohim, but cannot force it upon men. He will teach them to judge the underprivileged justly and to deal harshly with the arrogant. The rich will be less rich and the poor less poor. He will point the feet of men towards the path of perfection but cannot carry them along it. Earthly kings can drive men to fulfill their tasks, but no one can be driven along the path to glory. Only those who guide and lead can take men this way. I bring the light, and the light is a good tree bearing beneficial fruit. But fruit on the tree of darkness is consistent with conditions about its roots. For all trees are rooted in darkness, but the good tree transmutes the things of darkness into things of light. A disciple said to Immanuel, "Master, you say harsh things about the rulers and those in high places but do not seek to arm us against them. Surely the day of arming comes soon." Immanuel answered, "A physician is called to treat the sickness, and a healthy man does not require his attentions. The good in men I strengthen but leave untouched. It is the evil I seek out to destroy. Were it not for the strength of those who govern, there would be no peace in the land. Man would strive with man and there would be murder and pillage everywhere. It would be like the sea where big fish feed on the small, and nothing is there to prevent it. Therefore, if murder and robbery are kept from your door, pay due homage to those who stand guard. If an evil king be guarded by 1,000 good men, should these be slain to kill the king? Is it not best to first take the good men away from service with the king, bringing them into your own ranks? Those who serve evil, though powerful and wily, are cowards and hide behind the arms of better men. Therefore, by killing the brave men, are you not adding evil to evil? No, first bring the good and brave men to your side, and then let events happen as they will." A young disciple who became an apostle said, "You speak about bread unlike other bread, but the meaning is not clear to me. Tell me again about it." Immanuel said, "I will tell you with certainty. He who follows my cause wholeheartedly will gain eternal life, for I have the bread of immortality. The bread I give forms part of my being, and I share it for the good of the world. Many have the grains, but these are yet to be ground and baked. Unless, therefore, you can partake of my substance and become like me, you cannot gain immortality and glory. Yet what I can do you can do also, what I have become you can become. I do not ask men to follow a path I would not travel myself. Neither is there anything in me not inherent in you. As I am the true food of men, and the power of life flowing in me is their true drink. I come with special gifts and authority from above, clothed with the living Ruach, and I express life as I do because of the powers within me. So it will be with those who partake of my bread." Many of those with Immanuel could not hold these things in their hearts, for they were not easily understood. But one recorded them. Some, hearing these teachings, said, "These words are not easy to understand and difficult to accept." Immanuel said, "So you find difficulty in accepting what I say? Suppose you could see me communicating with my place of origin, would you believe then? But the eyes of the flesh cannot see things intended only for the eyes of the Ruach. Only the Ruach contains the power of life, and the flesh of itself can see or do nothing. The words I have spoken concern only the life-holding Ruach, and I have not referred to worldly matters. But still you do not understand. I know you are perplexed and confused by my teachings. That is why I said something greater must speak internally to incline you toward me." From this day many disciples and followers no longer heeded him. It is written in the holy books of the Yahudim, "In the days of unrighteousness, I will send forth a firebrand to consume the world with fire." Also, "Then each man shall know the fullness of his own nature, and his reward shall be according to his measure." Chapter 9. Immanuel went from there to the house of his mother, for Miriam had a small inheritance. She was a careful woman, for once when her children were young, having lost a small silver coin, she swept the floor carefully, sifting until she found it. Leaving there, he withdrew to the sea, for Immanuel liked to swim and be among the boats. Now while he was there, a great number came from Galilee, from all of Yehuda and from Jerusalem, some even from beyond Jordan and from the coast of the western sea where he was known. Immanuel bid his followers prepare a small ship as quickly as possible to take him away from the great crowd pressing about him. As he had cured so many who were afflicted, those still uncured tried to touch him, and there was a constant shoving and scuffling to get nearer. Escaping the boat, he went with it a short distance to where a path led up a hillside. Climbing this to a small mount, he sat down with his disciples. The time for celebrating the great festival was approaching, and Immanuel had sent out many apostles and heralds. Seeing that a large crowd had gathered on the hillside, Immanuel stood up and addressed the people after they were seated in this manner. This is a night of ignorance when men wander, lost in the darkness of worldly conditions. I am the light and hope of men. These are the people I support and accept, and this is the message I give to them. For I have come to unsheathe the sword of the Ruach among men and to lead them forth to fight the battles of Elohim. The sword is the Ruach, even as the body is the sheath. Let your swords be bright and keen for the fray. Be staunch and resolute, and the rule of Elohim will surely sweep all wickedness and evil, all pain and distress from the face of the earth. I accept the oppressed and dispirited, for they shall inherit glory in the kingdom of the Ruach. I accept those who grieve, for they should not be without a comforter. Is it not written, Let the words of Yahuwah be an unquenchable light within you, and they will shorten your days of sorrow? I accept the disinherited, for they shall inherit the earth. Is it not written, The disinherited shall be joyful amid bounty and peace? I accept those who hunger after enlightenment, for they shall be satisfied. Is it not written, The pleasures of the food table sit heavily on the stomach, but wisdom fills the heart with satisfaction and content? I accept the compassionate, for they shall be compensated. Is it not written, He who has compassion builds a fountain of consolation for his time of need? I accept the pure-hearted, for their nature draws them closer to Elohim. Is it not written, He whose hands and heart are clean receives the fullest measure of the power of the Ruach? I accept the peacemakers, for they are truly the heirs of Elohim. Is it not written, Listen, my children, and I will teach you the ways that are good, causing you to seek for peace and maintain it? I accept those who suffer in the cause of mankind, for on them shall fall the mantle of glory in the kingdom of the Ruach. Is it not written, When they scorned and abused me, I was strengthened by the Ruach of Yahuwah, and nothing can now dismay me? I accept those whose motives, when seeking to do good, are misunderstood, for their place in glory is established. Is it not written, Because they have reviled and slandered you, eternal glory will be granted? You whom I accept are the salt of the earth, but if the savor of the salt disappears, it is useless. As salt without any flavor would be good for nothing, so those without goodness in their hearts serve no purpose. As salt adds flavor to food, so do good men make life more acceptable. I am your light, but you are the light of the world. Therefore build a strong city set on a hill, for a light shining from a hilltop cannot be hidden. I have given you the light so it may be put to use. For men do not put a lighted candle under a grain basket but in a candlestick where it can light up the room. Let your lights shine before men so they see the path clearly. Join your lights together so they combine to form an unquenchable flame. For while a candle is easily snuffed out, it takes many men to subdue a forest fire. Be stout-hearted and resolute, for the struggle will be grim. The foe is wily and well entrenched behind thick walls. Those who have lived with poverty and misery, maintaining a cheerful heart in tribulation, will arise to glory. Those who are broken serving the cause of Yahuwah will receive a mantle of splendor. Those whose proper desires remain unfulfilled on earth will find fulfillment in heaven. Those who have cheerfully borne affliction or deformity will radiate strength. And those who die for the cause of justice and peace will inherit life in glory. I reject those who oppose the rule of Elohim. I herald a reborn world even as I was heralded, but while such as these encumber the earth, it will not be reborn. I assure you of this, unless the world be reborn, it cannot know the rule of Elohim. The upheaval of the labor pains will be great. For though many will say, "Speed the day," with their lips, in their hearts they will be saying, "The cost is too great, spare the coming." By their fruits shall they be known, and by their deeds shall they be judged. I reject the rich who live with their riches, or those who live beyond the bounds of moderation, for they shall be humbled in outer darkness. Is it not written, "Those in houses of comfort, where they sit at ease listening to instruments of music and sleep on soft beds of ivory, shall not survive?" I reject those who gorge themselves with refinements of food while others hunger, for they shall hunger in the kingdom of the Ruach. Is it not written, "They who serve Yahuwah will be filled, but those who do not will want"? I reject those who scorn the way of wisdom, seeking vain pleasures which dull the Ruach, for they shall be sorrowful in their proper place. Is it not written, "The Ruachath of those who serve Yahuwah shall be joyful, but the Ruachath of those who reject him shall weep in sorrow and regret"? I reject the arrogant and selfish and those mainly concerned with themselves, for they will be friendless in their place. Is it not written, "The things built of selfishness and false pride will be broken"? I reject the liars and deceivers, for their abode is a place of darkness. Is it not written, "The deceitful shall not know the presence of Yahuwah"? I reject those who encourage ignorance, walking stiff-necked, their hearts an unopened book, for they shall not be enlightened. Is it not written, "Those who shower scorn on the words of others and close their eyes to righteousness shall not receive a righteous reward in their place"? I reject the fornicators and adulterers and those who seek after lewd pleasures, for they shall go to a place of uncleanness. Is it not written, "Only they who are clean can come into the presence of Yahuwah"? I reject those who in any way cause needless suffering, for they shall go to a place of pain. Is it not written, "He who causes distress, though it be done in secret, yet he is seen and will repay"? I reject the hypocrites and self-deceivers, for their loathsomeness will be properly purged. Is it not written, "Words not written in the heart should never issue from the mouth"? Woe to all who hear my words but twist their meaning to suit their convenience. If a man says he is with me but does not abide by my teachings, then he is a hypocrite. If he says, "But I live in circumstances where this does not apply," he is a liar. Far better that such as these say, "We are against you," for until they do, the world will not be reborn. I bring light to the threshing floor of life, where suffering and misfortune are the flails, tribulation and distress the winnowing fan, and the wisdom of Yahuwah the winnowing shovel. Here the wheat is separated from the husks, the chaff is thrown out, and the good grains gathered up. I come to build a new temple, and if you say, "These are good teachings," and take them to your heart but tomorrow revile your neighbor and deceive your kinsman, you are an unstable brick. If the temple be built with such material, surely it will collapse, and those within will perish. Is it not better if it were never built? If you say, "But I am weak," then examine your defects and take the first step to stability. But examination is a waste of time unless leading to rectification. I call you to serve no mean cause, but to stand beside me and claim your inheritance. Those who dispute the claim are the ones I reject, and you must set your faces against them even as I do. Come and inherit the incorruptible glory, which is in heaven even as flesh is on earth. The way is narrow and difficult, for no one who has not been tempted and tried can attain his reward. He that is near me is close to a blazing fire and may get burned, but he who withdraws from the heat withdraws from heaven. Some have said, the yoke of the Torah sits heavy on our shoulders, but I tell you, I come not to lighten but to magnify the responsibility. Moses brought the Torah which says not to kill, but I say, any who releases anger on his brother without just cause shall not escape judgment. The Torah you have condemns adultery, but I tell you that if any man looks upon a woman with fornication in mind, he is no less guilty. For it is what a man thinks that will lead him to glory or decay. He who is pure in love does not defile his heart by looking at another woman with fornication in view. The Torah you have says, no man shall put his wife away unless he give her a bill of divorcement. But I tell you that whosoever seeks to put his wife away, except for adultery or she is found unchaste, places her on the path of adultery and is therefore not guiltless. What Yahuwah has blended in Ruach let no man seek to sever, but those joined in body and not in Ruach are not sanctified. The Torah you have says, you shall not swear falsely or break an oath, though if you vow something to the service of Yahuwah, the pledge must be kept. I tell you never to swear any oath, but confine yourself to a straightforward yes or no. It is needless to say more, for the word of a godly man is more binding than the most solemn oath sworn by another. If you are not a godly man, then doubtless your word and oath would be worthless anyway. If your eye give cause for complaint, leading you towards lewdness or obscenity, pluck it out. It is of greater advantage to suffer disfigurement on earth than to be cast into the depths to suffer it there. If your right hand give cause for complaint, cut it off, for if your body be maimed on earth, you bear it a little time, but surely do nothing to prevent it remaining intact in the place of glory. The Torah you have says, love your neighbors and hate your enemies, but I tell you to love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who deceive or persecute you. For if you only give love for love, this cannot be claimed as a meritorious thing, when even criminals return the love of those who love them. If you only repay good with good, dealing fairly only with those who treat you likewise, how can merit be claimed for this, which is no more than criminals do? It is the same if you give only to those who give to you, for criminals give to their own kind. Can you stand by and let it be said that criminals treat each other better than do godly men? Love your enemies but not their faults. Love those who hate you but concede nothing to their wickedness. Give without expectation of return, then only can you lay claim to goodness and be called a servant of Yahuwah. I have not come to abolish the Torah or to change the teachings of the prophets, but to complete them, adding any necessary clarification and interpreting them to the understanding of men. But the time has come to ask, when will they be put into practice? When will men bring Yahuwah out of the temple and make him a participant in their daily lives? When will men carry these things in their hearts and stop paying them lip service? I say with certainty, so long as earth and the heavens above it remain, not even the smallest particle shall be deducted from the Torah until the purpose it serves has been completed. Therefore, if anyone try to avoid even the least obligation imposed by the Torah, or to set aside the slightest of its restrictions, or teach others to do the same, he will be an insignificant thing in the life to come. But whoever lives by them, leading others to do likewise, will achieve the greatest heights of glory. Do all charitable acts privately, not displaying your righteousness to catch the eyes of others, for by so doing you void their benefits. Only those seeking public acclaim and hypocrites do these things ostentatiously. Never seek publicity for your deeds or goodness, nor let it be forced on you. I assure you that those who do these things have their reward on earth, and nothing awaits them elsewhere. When setting out on an errand of goodness, keep your right hand in ignorance of the left hand's deeds. Do your good deeds in secret, knowing they are not overlooked and will be duly rewarded, but do them without thought of reward, or they will lose their merit. Do not be like the hypocrites who pray in the sight of everyone. They are being rewarded now. Pray in solitude, for your Father can be contacted from anywhere and is everywhere. Never use needless repetition or ramble on in the mistaken belief that the more you say, the more likely you are to be heard. Do not be a mere babbler of words, for prayer is not formed by words alone. Remember, your every need is known, so whatever is withheld may be for your own good. Prayer is contact between ruach and ruach, and should seek only to reinforce the strength of the ruach. This is a pattern for prayer. Our Father in ruach, may your nature become known among men and your rule established on earth, according to the heavenly plan. May your design be completed. Give us the sustenance we need and overlook our transgressions as we overlook the transgressions of others. Do not test us too severely and strengthen us against the servants of evil. If you overlook the failings of others and forgive people for the wrongs they have done to you, then the burden of your own will be alleviated. Also, when you fast or undertake an obligation, do not be like the hypocrites who lengthen their faces, going about it self-righteously, bringing themselves to the attention of others. Hoard no earthly treasures which can be destroyed by moths and decay or may be stolen by thieves. It is far better to establish a storehouse in the heavens, for there you can accumulate treasures beyond reach of these things. A man's heart is never far from the place where he establishes his credit. Providing you view everything optimistically, maintaining a cheerful and confident outlook, you will radiate assurance. If you do not, you will shed despondency and gloom wherever you go. No man has ever succeeded in serving two masters, for his loyalties must lie with one or the other. Neither can a man have two prime objectives. He must aim for an earthly goal or a spiritual one. I advise you not to worry unduly about the future needs of the body, how it will be nourished and clothed. There is more to life than eating and comfort, while overdone pleasure soon palls. Keep this one fact constantly in mind: the soul is of more importance than the body. Think about the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap or gather in a harvest, yet provision has been made for their needs. Do you think any less consideration has been given to your welfare? Trust in the powers above, and when things go wrong, try to understand the reason. When you are being tried by tribulation, try and see the objective of the test. Is there anyone among you who, by thought alone, can add an arm's length to his height? Worry is a useless activity of the mind, so why worry about food and clothing? Look how the wildflowers grow in the meadows. They do not toil or spin, yet Solomon in full regalia was not attired so attractively as one of these. If such beauty is bestowed on wildflowers, which can display it for only a few days before being consumed, shall Yahuwah not give much more attention to you, his children? Or have you no faith in anything? Therefore worry less about material things and concentrate more on the spiritual, making the cause of Elohim your main concern. Do this and all other things will come within your reach. Do not worry about tomorrow, for it will look after itself. Each day will bring you sufficient problems without the need to worry about those of other days. There is no reason why hypocrisy, the disease of the day, should come so naturally to men. But which of you is not contaminated by it? How many of you are self-deceivers, making excuses for these things? How is it you can readily detect the small faults in others while being absolutely blind to your own much greater ones? How can you say to another, "Let me help you see more clearly," when you are practically blind yourself? You hypocrites and self-deceivers, first examine your own faults and failings before criticizing those of others. Never be afraid to voice your needs, and if you have a friend, turn to him whenever you require help, for this is the nature of friendship. Ask and you will receive, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be opened. These things are the Torah of life, for at the end it will be said to you, as you sought, so have you found, and according to the manner of asking have you received. It is not what you seek but how you seek, not what you request but the manner of requesting. Is there any man among you who, if his son ask for bread, will give him a stone, or a snake if he ask for a fish? If then you, with all your mortal faults and ignorance, know how to give the right things to your children, how much more able is Yahuwah to give what is right for his? The things you surely do not need are comfort and content, while assurance and security open the gates to spiritual apathy. Enter by the narrow, unpretentious gate, for the road leading to the dark abyss has a wide road and attractive entrance, while the gate leading to immortality is austere, and the road fraught with difficulties. Beware of false prophets and those who would mislead you, for many seeking to promote their own ends walk the ways of righteousness, clothed in sheepskins, but are hypocrites, being ravening wolves within. Those who indicate an easy path are false guides, and those who say another can absolve them from the effects of their misdeeds expound an error. You will know them by the effects of their teachings, just as a good tree is recognized through the fruit it bears. Can the wild thorn produce grapes, or are figs found growing on thistles? If a tree fails to produce good fruit, it is cut down and burned, for it can serve no better purpose. Therefore I say, judge men by the fruits of their labors. Some hail me as their leader, thinking this will help them in the life to come, but it will not. Only those who wholeheartedly serve the cause and purpose of Yahuwah will enjoy this in full glory. Many who do things in my name will expect me to intercede for them, but to these I will say, I did not know you or authorize the statements you made. By your deeds shall you be judged. This does not apply to those who, hearing my words, put them into practice, for they are like the sensible man who built his house on a foundation of rock. The rain poured down and the floods rose. The wind howled above and beat against the house. But it did not collapse because it was set firmly. But there will be many who, hearing these words of mine, will ignore them. And these may be likened to a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain poured down, the floods rose, the wind howled and beat against the walls, and the whole house collapsed. I herald the coming of the rule of Elohim and a reborn world. I accept those, I reject all those who are against my way. I call upon men of good will to follow us, men who wholeheartedly desire the light and oppose the way of darkness. But the road may be long and beset by many foes. Yet have no fear of those who come with swords and fiery words. Their danger is apparent. Those who will be our undoing are the hypocrites and self-deceivers who pay lip service only and manipulate the words of the Torah to accord with their convenience. I tell you this, many will come but few will be selected. Moses had viewed the promised land only from Pisgah. Let this not be your fate. Face the difficulties ahead, overcome the evildoers who maintain the rule of evil and claim your reward. The sword is drawn, but the battle has yet to be won. In the reborn world, the wolf shall lay down with the lamb and the lion with the kid, and a little child shall play with them. Surely, because of their goodness and goodwill, even the wild beasts will submit themselves to the will of those who participate in the rule of Elohim. When Immanuel finished speaking, the great assembly of people was silent. For, unlike other teachers, he appeared inspired by divine authority. But within moments they were excitedly discussing the words among themselves. Then a disciple who stood beside Immanuel shouted, "All who serve Yahuwah, praise him. For he has sent the true enlightener and the deliverer and will himself reign over us through the Ruach which fills his Son." Heed these things, follow the way of Immanuel, Acts 24 verse 14, take up the cross of life and the rule of Elohim is at hand. There were many among the crowd who said, surely this is Yahuwah's anointed for whom we have long awaited. Now we will be delivered according to the promises of the prophets. Hearing the things said by the people among themselves, Immanuel was saddened and said to Bartholomew who stood near him, tomorrow they will revert to their old way of life and permit evil to reign through hypocrites and self-deceivers. How can they be brought to understand that should Yahuwah intervene to bring about the rule of Elohim, earth and mankind will have failed him and be unworthy of his rule? Life's purpose is to produce shepherds, not sheep. But the lives of the people are turned inwards upon themselves. It was now late in the day, but many people still lingered. And a disciple said to Immanuel, Master, the crowd was very large and many did not hear all your words. Could you not speak to these? For, though hungry, they would rather listen to you. Immanuel said, my throat aches, but I have bread more satisfying than that which fills the stomach, and meat more satisfying than worldly meat. My supply is inexhaustible. I have multiplied this through you, so now you go among the people and provide what they need. Chapter 10. Some days later, Immanuel was in another place with about 60 disciples, one of whom said to him, there is Joshua the faster, who claims to be the Mashiach of Elohim, and Yosef, who proclaims deliverance by the sword, while many say the Enlightener and Deliverer are two men. The gale of words makes it difficult to get a bearing on the harbor entrance. Immanuel said, things are changing and many alive today will live to see a different world. I come to set men free by removing the shackles of ignorance and to deliver them from evil and from themselves. Hearing this, many of the disciples left, and Immanuel said to those who remained beside him, do you also wish to go your way? Kepha answered for all, Master, your teachings excel those of others, for they carry the hope of eternal life. We believe you to be the chosen messenger of Yahuwah who speaks with his voice. We accept what you say because it responds to the yearnings of our hearts. Immanuel said, we all make mistakes, and though I have chosen unwisely with others, I have not been mistaken with you. Immanuel did not proclaim himself to the people according to their understanding and devoted much time to the teaching of disciples. This concerned mainly the coming rule of Elohim, but to the 12 he taught many hidden things, for there was knowledge suitable only for a few. He said to them, you are among those entitled to know secrets concerning the rule of Elohim, but to those who are not numbered among the elect, everything should be explained simply and in parables. It is truly written in the sacred books, they may see with the eyes and be deceived, and hear without understanding, but if they would only turn to Yahuwah, their ignorance would be wiped away. Then Immanuel appointed the 12 as apostles to go out among the people and proclaim the things he had said. The 12 were, Shimon renamed Kepha, Jacob and Yochanan, sons of thunder, Andrew Saronides, Philip Bardrush, Bartholomew the stranger, Mattatyahu the Levite, Thomas son of Jonas, Thaddeus called Lebios before he came, Jacob son of Alphaeus, Yehuda Judas, of Iscariot, and Shimon of Canaan the Zealot. Immanuel sent them out with these instructions, avoid Samaritan towns. Keep away from places where the people are being stirred up for strife, but go to the Yahudim wherever they are to be found. When entering a dwelling, give the greeting, peace be on this house. I know that you are being sent like sheep delivered to the wolves, for you do not bear the message expected by the people. So be careful, always alert, cunning as serpents and harmless as doves. Beware of those who would bring you before their courts, and do not concern yourselves about what to say, for when it becomes necessary, you will receive inspiration from the Ruach HaKodesh, and words will come. I can assure you of this, Whoever stands by me, upholding my cause before men, him I will stand beside before the council of heaven. Give no heed to what is said about me, it is already forgiven. But slander against the powers of the Ruach HaKodesh, which is the hand of Yahuwah, is unforgivable. One of the 12 said, We will meet other teachers, whose words will not be the same as those spoken by you. Immanuel said, This will certainly be so, for to each man his own road and his own light. But truth is truth, whoever proclaims it, and must be obeyed. However, truth is something rarely seen clearly, and even many who see it have difficulty in describing it to others. Speak about the good and evil which are manifest in the lives of men, and tell them each shall be judged according to his works. Immanuel said, Men will always go astray, but those who lead them astray cannot shun responsibility. Remember what I have said about those who stand behind the wrongdoings and foolishness of others, hidden from sight and untouchable by men. It would be better for them to have a millstone hung about their necks and be thrown into the sea than to suffer what they will for leading innocents astray. Be on guard against undutiful inclinations, and work in harmony one with another. If your companion offends you, rebuke him without anger, and if he indicates regret, forgive him wholeheartedly. Even though he offends you many times and is contrite, forgive him. Some of the 12 said, These things are difficult to understand, and we have the natural failings of men. Give us courage and strengthen us in the cause. Immanuel replied, Have faith in what you do, for with faith you could move mountains or cause uprooted trees to replant themselves. All things are possible to those who believe them possible. Nevertheless, he strengthened them by a transfer of Ruach HaKodesh, so they had the power of healing. Immanuel said, Those who do not build with me are destroyers of my works, and those who pay lip service only are useless tools. Never judge any man by the words of his mouth, and keep away from those who pour them out in a torrent. Have no dealings with those who do their good deeds in public, and shun those who push themselves forward for attention. A man whose problems are small will readily come to be eased of his burden, while he who carries a heavy load is often inconspicuous. What you do pays no earthly reward, though the reward elsewhere may be great. It is useless claiming one here. If one of you had a man out plowing, would you say to him on his return, Come, sit down and rest? Is it not more likely you would say, Go and clean yourself, get my meal ready, and after you have finished, go and eat yourself, then go to rest? Is any employer grateful because those who work for him do the things for which he pays them? So it should be with you. Having carried out your orders and done your duty, you should simply say, We have only done the things we were supposed to do. Many will seek to snare you in a net of words, but avoid the meshes spun by their wiles. Never talk about anything not thoroughly and honestly believed. The blind cannot lead the blind, and if they do, fall into a ditch. No man can walk confidently in darkness without a light. The eye is the lamp of the body, and if the lamp is defective, the whole body is in gloom. The Ruach HaKodesh is the lamp of the soul, but if it remains unlit, it serves no purpose. Many will mock and scorn you, saying, Fools, we have full stomachs and soft beds. We have everything for our comfort and needs. What have you? There is little to be said in reply, for wise men do not mock, knowing that gems of wisdom often fall from the lips of fools. Take no heed of these, for they suffer from a spiritual defect, an ailment blinding them to their own deficiencies while exaggerating the failings of others. Do not offer bright jewels to dogs, nor place a string of pearls around the necks of swine, or they will be trampled into the ground. The beasts will turn and rend you for not providing bones or husks. Philip said to Immanuel, Master, you caution us against anger, yet were you not angry when a man beat his ass with a rod? Immanuel said, I warn you against anger among brothers or anger relating to yourself. There is a righteous anger which is justified. In all things there are balances and limitations, and to know these you have the books of wisdom. If a man comes against you, threatening harm, he is more dangerous if he is calm and silent than if he is unsteady with anger. The silent biting dog is more to be feared than the barking one. Therefore is it not in your own interest that I teach you self-control? Then Yehuda asked concerning the coming rule of Elohim, and Immanuel answered, It is like this: a man scatters seed on the ground. Day follows day until the grain sprouts and grows. But what goes on in the ground to bring this about is beyond his knowledge. The soil produces the crop by its own methods, nourishing the crop until it ripens. When the corn is ripe at harvesting time, the man reaps and gathers in. Immanuel then said, To know the nature of the rule of the Most High is important but difficult for me to explain to your understanding. It is like the small seed which, once planted, shoots up into a great plant, providing shade for many forms of life. These are able to see and know both the seed and the plant but have no knowledge how one became the other. Know that, though I am here with you, I am not apart from He who inspires me. That which is in me is not separate from the Ruach of the Father, and that Ruach is wholly in me. I express the likeness of the Father and contain His power and substance to the full measure. I am the Ruach outflowing from Yahuwah, given voice and form. I am the voice and word of that Ruach. I am of that Ruach but not that Ruach. I am the fulfillment of men's hopes and the fulfillment of the Father's desire. As I am, so is the Ruach. As I am, so shall all His children be, for I am the pattern for all men. I am emptied of worldliness in order to hold the Ruach HaKodesh. And I am an answer to the Father's creative word. A pitcher half filled with water would hold less oil than an empty one. If wine is poured into a jar containing water, the wine is diluted. So, when men say, What purpose does it serve to forego worldly pleasures? Tell these things to them. If they will not listen, then on their own heads be the illnesses and pains from which they will surely suffer. The 12 said, Great is the hope you have given us, and great is the inspiration of your words. Immanuel said, I do not do this of myself, for I have been filled with the power of the Ruach HaKodesh, which is part of Yahuwah. With this He created all things. I come that I may bring light to those who dwell in darkness, to bring to those who are on the brink of death a knowledge of life, and to bring consolation to those who suffer. I am the hope of those who despair, the helper of those who have no guide, the treasure of the poor, and the healer of the sick. I am the light of eternal life for all who die. And as I am, so must you be. Go, carry the good tidings without trepidation or fear, without respect for persons, calling all who listen to follow a path which is direct, narrow, and stern. Call them, whatever their circumstances, for each one will have something to contribute. Then Yochanan said, Master, you have taught us many things and armed our wits. You have taught us how to act towards those who believe in your cause and those who do not. Yet even among those who most conscientiously follow your way, even among those who should be brothers, is found jealousy, pettiness, envy, and selfishness. Immanuel said, These things are the challenge of life, and inseparable from the present rule of man. The test is your ability to change them. The corn will be gathered into the storehouse of the Ruach, and the chaff cast into the fires of transmutation. Immanuel taught these things to the 12 in a manner different from his other teachings. There were many other things which may be told, but not all were heard with understanding. Kepha said, Let us partake of your strength so we can withstand whatever is sent to test us. Immanuel said, When the test comes, it is never as expected. He also said, The man who says, I may be wrong, is always right, the man who says, "I am certainly right," is always wrong. To avoid a fight is not cowardice, and to fight with the assurance of victory is not courage. Weak men often fight and strong men often run. Motive is all that matters. To judge anyone by their former actions is to judge unfairly. Then, while they were gathered about him, Immanuel said, "Now, who do you think I am?" Shimon Kepha answered, "You are surely Yahuwah's anointed." Immanuel said, "You are rather rash, but as no mortal disclosure was made to you, wise also. Since your name means a rock, and you live up to it, I will establish foundations for the city of my cause upon you. And neither death nor evil shall overthrow it. To you I give the keys of this city, and the kingdom to which it is the gateway shall welcome you as a prince. Inasmuch as I am the way, Psalm 119 verse 1, the truth, Psalm 119 verse 142, and the light, Proverbs 6 verse 23, I bring you salvation from ignorance. I am the Savior of all who wander in darkness, but who, seeing my light, follow my lead." One of the 12 said, "Master, you are truly our salvation, our hope and our life." Deuteronomy 32 verses 46 and 47. Immanuel said, "Many will flock to my cause, but few will be chosen to serve. Many will follow my way but turn aside at the obstacles. For if any man believes but fails to put his belief into practice, it will be profitless to him. If anyone take one part of my teachings, shunning the sterner and more inconvenient, the rest will serve no purpose. For it is in the nature of men to accept the easy path and turn aside from the harder one. But there is something in each which tells him this is wrong. Everyone has a spark within which, fanned by the wind of dedication, will kindle the flame of glory." One of the 12 said, "Shall we confine our mission to the Yahudim?" Immanuel replied, "Enlightenment is the inheritance of all men. Carry the message to all the 70 nations of the earth." Another asked, "Should we take it to the young and to the old as well? For the thoughts of the young change with every wind, while the old are like seasoned timber into which it is difficult to drive a nail." Immanuel said, "Teach each according to his understanding and capacity." Immanuel then said, "Always treat those you meet as you would have them treat you. Act towards others as you would have them act towards you. For this is the essence of the Torah." When Immanuel had given these instructions to the apostles, they left. And Immanuel went with 4 disciples to carry the message to other towns.